Join me today as we talk about the movie Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack. This is the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Bobbie, and today we're going to be talking about the anime movie Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack. Now, this channel having a lot of Battletech stuff on it, it should not surprise anyone at all that I'm also a fan of the Gundam franchise, if you know anything about it. Giant robots fighting it out on Earth and out in space. So, the franchise has a lot of branches, but the original series is called Mobile Suit Gundam, debuted in Japan in 1979, and probably why the original series takes place in the year Universal Century 0079. And the original series is known for the fact that it lures you in with promises of big action and giant robots, and then it crushes your soul as it shows you that war really sucks. And that a lot of times people just die. Like, there's no big heroic deaths for most people. They're just killed. They, just die. Something blows up next to them, they're dead. They get shot, they're dead. And that a lot of times it's children and, young adults that are doing most of the dying and most of the killing. And that, this destroys people's lives. And not just the ones that are killed, but like the ones that survive, because of guilt and grief and the trauma, and like this series really goes into a lot of this. And so, Char's Counterattack is the finale to the Universal Century storyline. I believe Gundam F91 is also in the Universal Century, but it's way later. Also, the Universal Century lasts longer than the Century. It's just like it's like BD, AC, UC. The Universal Century is the new era of human history. And so, by this point, humans live out in space in giant colonies. I believe O'Neill cylinders is the type of colony that they are. It's a long cylindrical colony, big cylinder that strips along it are open to space so sunlight comes in, but where they are, there's also a giant arm that has reflective mirrors to bounce the sunlight in, because it'll hit the opposite side. So it's if it were like this, it'd be split into 6 segments equally. And the interior looks like you're on Earth. There's dirt, rocks, and trees, and water, and all that. And like it's a cylinder, so everything's along the outside. Okay, so as it rotates, it forces everything out through centrifugal force. I know there's a difference between those two, and I can't think of what it is right off the top of my head. But through rotation. And at some point, in the year 79, the one of the groups of colonies, which they're numbered. There's side 1, side 2, and I think there's 7, if I remember correctly. Plus, there's the colonies on the moon, on Luna. And there are also some other randoms, but it's mainly those groups. And each grouping is side 1, side 2, and they're at Lagrange points around the Earth, gravitationally stable points. So one of the sides, and it's been a long time since I've seen the original series, but I think it was side 3, declares their independence and declares themselves the Principality of Zeon, under the command of Daegwon Zabi and the rest of the Zabi family. Now, they seized control. Daegwon Zabi had a partner who was going to be the man of the people, the man in charge, and he wanted to do all this for the good of the space noids, those people live in space. And his name was Zeon Daikun, and Daegwon Zabi killed him and I'm sure blamed his death on somebody else. And then then named Zeon after him in his memory. But he did it all for power, Daewon Zabi. And his children are in command of various aspects of the military. I'm assuming his oldest is Gyron Zabi. Gyron Zabi is space evil mustache man from Germany, essentially. Daewon Zabi even point blank calls him that at one point, his own son, because he wants to annihilate the people on Earth. He thinks the people in space are superior. However, unlike in the real world, there might actually be something to that, because the people in space, some of them have developed psychic powers. They're new types is what they're called. And allows them to see the future like slightly, which increases their reaction time. They know where and when to shoot to hit something in motion, like subconsciously, not just like the really good shot, but like they know it's going to be right here. And eventually the Zeons begin developing psychic weaponry that really takes advantage of their powers. But new types are only born in space. They're not from Earth. So, in a way, there are people in space that do have abilities. So, take that for what you will. But anyway, that was the 1 Year War back in 0079. Then there are other series there, and in the 1 Year War, the main hero on the Federation side was Amuro Ray, who his dad developed the Gundam. The Gundam's one of the mobile suits, the big robots, and it's more advanced than anything the Zeons have. The Zeons were the ones who developed mobile suits, but the Earth Federation got a hold of some stuff and began building their own. And the Earth Federation has a lot more resources because they have, Earth. So they had developed the Gundam, and it's more advanced than anything the Zeons have. But the Zeons have a lot of mobile suits. So they've taken parts of Earth. And Amuro is forced, because the colony he's in gets attacked, and he's forced to jump into the Gundam and try to fight his way out. And he does. He takes to it. Excuse me. He intuitively takes to it, and actually begins making improvements later on. And the Gundam has a learning computer built into it also. So as it gets more combat data, the Gundam itself becomes more and more effective and more efficient. And then his primary nemesis is Char Aznable, the Red Comet, who is really Casval Daikun, Zeon Daikun's son. And he has a sister who is with the Earth Federation side. So they fight several times throughout the series, but Char is also, even though he's fighting for the Zeons, he is slowly eliminating all of the Zabi family. And he's responsible for killing, well, actually I think he only kills 2 of them. He kills the youngest son, who is actually his friend. Then Cassilia knows who he is, Cassilia Zabi, but she lets him back in. And then Dozel Zabi gets killed by Amuro, if I remember right. Then Cassilia kills Gyron. Gyron killed Daewon. And then Char kills Cassilia. So I think the only Zabi left was Dozel had a daughter, and she escaped. I think that's covered in Double Zeta Gundam, which I have not watched. So, at the end of the war, Char kind of disappears. Fun fact, in the original series, you don't actually know his fate at the end, if I remember correctly. However, the original series was condensed down to 3 movies, and the 3rd movie came out before the finale aired on Japanese TV. And the movie confirms his fate, that he escapes. So, just an interesting little side fact there. So Amuro definitely suffers from PTSD at various points. He's a kid, and he gets to the point where he's like, I don't want to go out there and kill any more people, any more Zeons. Please, just let it stop. And Noah Bright is the commander of the White Base, the ship that they're on. and he literally comes up to Amuro like smacks the shit out of him, and he's like, "You're gonna get out there and you're gonna go kill more Zeons because damn it, you're really good at it." I don't want to go out there. Throw him in the brig. Send someone else out in the Gundam. And then finally, like, he's like, "No, I'll go." After he's in the brig for a while, and he's like, "I'm better at it. I don't want someone else to die on." And he even deserts and takes the Gundam with him at one point. Then he runs into Rambo. And but yeah, so that's the original series. So that's the 1 year war where the Earth Federation ultimately drives Zeon back into space, and then the final battle is I want to say the final battle is at a Baoku, but it could be at the Axis asteroid. I don't remember which one of the two, but I believe it's a Baoku is where the final battle is, and sort of Zeons ultimately lose. So then you have two other shows that take place during the 1 year war. You have War in the Pocket, which is 6 episodes, and then you have the 8th MS Team, which is 12, 13 episodes. I'm not going to go a whole lot into those, but like the 8th MS Team is almost literally Vietnam and the Gundam universe. They're in Southeast Asia. I don't know if they're specifically in Vietnam. They might be in like Laos or Cambodia or something. But like that's where they are, fighting against the Zeons. The Zeons are developing a super weapon, and there's a whole deal there. And then there is War in the Pocket, which is 6 episodes, which that has a like total knife in the gut and twist the blade kind of ending. A lot of the Gundam shows have that. The main guy who made all his shows, his last name is Tamino, and his nickname is Kill 'em All Tamino. So that gives you some kind of idea. Interesting fact about the 8th MS Team before I continue here, to give you an idea of just how powerful Cartoon Network was when it comes to these kind of things. Cartoon Network was airing the original Gundam series and the 8th MS Team. They were contemporaries as far as on air for the first time in the United States. So they were the ones who were also needed the dubbed episodes. I think Sunbow was under the dubbing. So because the 8th MS Team was going to finish before the main series, they didn't want the 8th MS Team to spoil how the main series ended. Now, we're talking early 2000s here, like 2000, 2001, somewhere in there. And this is a show from 21 years ago. The internet was a thing at this point. Like, I was able to rent the 3 anime movies from a video store. Like, it wasn't impossible for people to know how the show ended, but Cartoon Network felt really strongly about this. So the final or the second to last episode of the 8th MS Team is supposed to tell you who won the war. And it literally ends with, not long after that, the war ended. And then the final episode doesn't tell you who wins the war. So that's the dub that's on the DVD and Blu-ray versions of the 8th MS Team if you buy it here in the United States. So that's how powerful Cartoon Network was able to demand that they not spill the beans on who wins the war. That's insanity. So those 2 series happened. Then there's the show Stardust Memory, which I think is also 12 episodes. And it takes place in the year 83 of the Universal Century. And it's meant to be a stopgap between the original series and Zeta Gundam. Zeta Gundam was a full series, like full 50 some odd episodes like the original series. So it was double Zeta Gundam. Now in Zeta Gundam, you have Neo Zeon. And they are going up against the Earth Federation, but there's a branch of the Federation now called the Titans, who are like high-end enforcers who are supposed to be scouring the galaxy trying to hunt down the Neo Zeons. But they're also just like insanely brutal and showing that, the Earth Federation weren't necessarily the good guys. Like they were the least bad of the 2 options, but they weren't the good guys of the original conflict. And now that they're really now that they're back in control, like they're showing their true colors. So Stardust Memory is supposed to show a big conflict that helps spur the creation of the Titans in the halfway point between the original series and Zeta Gundam. So in Zeta Gundam, Char actually fights on the side of the Federation against the Titans because some of the Federation types go rogue and try to fight the Titans. But he ends up leaving with the Neo Zeons. And then I haven't seen Double Zeta Gundam, but I know there he takes control of the Neo Zeon from Hamon Khan. And then we have Char's Counterattack, which is the movie I saw the other night in the theater. That's why we're talking about it here. And now I'm giving you a brief 14 some odd minute history lesson of the Gundam franchise. And there's several new entries now, but this movie was released in 1987. No, 88. Yeah, I had 88 for the copyright. And so the other shows didn't exist before this one. In fact, I don't think Stardust Memory existed before this one either. So there's a newer show. It's on Netflix. It had like 6 episodes. It was pretty good. I can't think of the name of it. There's 2 prequel series that talk about Char before the 1 Year War, leading into the 1 Year War. And there's another like movie that took like some events that happened, like 1 or 2 episodes of the cartoon, and expanded it to a whole movie. So there's a lot of other material now that's building up within the Universal Century timeline, but this is the stuff that mattered when Char's Counterattack was made. So Char's Counterattack is a standalone movie that's meant to be the end of the main storyline between the Federation and Zeon, and between Char and Amuro. So, one, just want to say it's really awesome seeing this on the big screen. Wish I could see more anime films on the big screen. And this is, like I said, it's like peak output from Japan. This is late 80s. This is in the golden decade. So, and I was, like I said, I was a little upset that it was subtitled, because the company that put it on used the English trailer, which is dubbed. And if I see a trailer that's in English, I have no reason to suspect the movie's not going to be. So I was a little upset at that. Not enough to not watch the movie or anything, but like, it was one of those like, wow, that was really shifty. Like, I would have gone to go watch it even if I knew it was subtitled. But I don't like being suckered like that. So I'm a little salty on that one. Hope it doesn't happen with Vampire Hunter D, though I imagine it will. So, yeah. So the movie itself this is years later. From memory, I want to say it's the year 0093, but I'm probably wrong on that because I never caught a year date in the movie. So this is well after the events of Zeta and Double Zeta Gundam. So which they take place in like 87 and 88 respectively, I think. So Char is the leader of Neo Zeon, and the movie opens with him dropping an asteroid onto the Earth. Now, back in the original series, the Zeons dropped a colony onto the Earth and destroyed Sydney, Australia. It's a crater now. Well, it's a water-filled crater. So that was things that happened in the originals. And then the Earth Federation used nuclear weapons against the colonies. I mean, if I remember right, like in the first week of the war, like half the human race gets wiped out. And the two sides agree to stop using nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons against each other, which leads them to develop all kinds of crazy super weapons instead. So here, Char is trying to cause a nuclear winter to either kill everyone on Earth or to force them out into space so they can evolve into new types so they'll stop just ravaging the Earth like parasites. And so he's the leader of Neo Zeon. And Amuro is back with working for the Earth Federation. During Zeta Gundam, he was in like forced retirement. And so he's, as powerful as ever. He and Char are both new types. Very strong new types. So the Zeons developed a new psycho-mu system. That's the thing that allows them to channel their psychic powers into making their mobile suits even more efficient and everything. And Char, some of their mobile suits are designed on the moon at Anaheim Electronics. And but they also build suits for the Earth Federation. And Char gave them the psycho-mu system. I think in part because he wants a fair battle between him and Amuro to finally know who's the best. He doesn't want to win just because Amuro had a shitty mobile suit. So throughout the movie, and they do successfully drop the first asteroid. It hits Lhasa, Tibet, which is where the Earth Federation headquarters was, and wipes it out, kills people. And they know that he needs to drop another one on Earth to create a nuclear winter. So what the two sides don't know is that the Earth Federation is secretly in talks with Char and Neo Zeon to try to get them to stop what they're doing. And so Char buys the Axis asteroid that was used back in the 1 Year War with a whole lot of gold that the Earth Federation needs for various projects. And so part of the deal is they agree to disarm their fleet. They're going to turn their fleet over at Luna 2, which is where a whole lot of nuclear warheads are stored. So the group that Amuro is with figures out that something's going on. They don't trust Char. And so Char sends a dummy fleet, which literally includes inflatable ships, to Luna 2, but half the fleet is real, and they attack Luna 2 and take the nukes, because they're going to load them into the Axis asteroid as well, so that not only will it cause a nuclear winter, it'll also spread radioactivity everywhere to ensure that humans have to leave the Earth or die. And so a lot of stuff happens in between. There's several space battles. There's some younger people get involved. Hathaway, Noah, so Bright Noah's son Hathaway with Mirai. She was a character from the original series as well. And she's stuck on Earth trying to get out of the path of the second asteroid. There's a girl named Kes Pariah that her dad's the ambassador that's negotiating the deal. She ends up joining Char, and it turns out she has a natural knack for piloting a mobile suit, and then they begin cybernetically enhancing her because they've come up with a process to create artificial new types, cybernetically enhance people into new type status, because they need new types to win the war. And she takes to it and becomes really good. Then ends up destroying the ship that her own dad is on. And she falls in love with Char, and people kind of know that Char prefers girls on the younger end, and it's kind of like, well, it's an interesting thing to leave in there, but okay. Or at least there's rumors of that, even though he's clearly sleeping with a woman closer to his age. But this all stems from something that happened way back in the original series. There was a woman that he loved named Lala Sung, and she was a new type, a very powerful new type, and she was more powerful than Char, and it was to the point that she was about to start being able to teach him how to do things. He had taught her the basics and how to harness her power, but she was surpassing him. And so they developed a mobile armor for her. Mobile armors are they're not quite full-on ships, but they have characteristics of the mobile suits, but they're typically not humanoid. Like hers looked like a tricorn hat. That's what they even called it, the tricorn hat. But it had funnels, cannons that can separate, and then they're controlled psychically by a new type. So they can see a target, and they just send this tiny little thing that can shoot laser beams and destroy ships and everything. They're very hard to fight against unless you also have a new type fighting against them. And Amuro met her whenever they were all in a neutral colony, and he instantly fell for her too and realized she was a new type, and they psychically connected and everything. So then it came to a battle where Amuro followed, he found the funnels, but then he could also begin to see that the will behind them was way back someplace else, and followed the lines of effect with his psychic powers to the tricorn hat. And Lala was fighting him, and he's fighting her, and he's like, well, why are you with Char? And she's like, because I believe in Char. The Federation's just using your powers. They don't care about you. Char cares about the space noids, and, kind of back and forth. And then her and Amuro and Char have this like moment. Well, Char is going. He's in what's called a Gelgoog, which is a more advanced Zeon mobile suit, and he's got the beam saber active and is going to try to take out Amuro when a fighter flies through, or it's right in the path of his beam saber, and it's his sister. And Lala can figure out who it is and tells Char psychically, like, stop, you're about to kill your sister. So he stops, which opens him up to Amuro taking off the arm of the mobile suit and literally disarming him. And then Amuro rears back and is going to go for the cockpit shot. And then Lala moves her ship in the way, and Amuro's beam saber goes through her cockpit instead. And then the three of them have some weird psychic experience on the astral plane. And Lala, gives her this soaring speech about hoping that humanity will one day overcome, being stuck on Earth, and that they can all be new types and, feel what each other actually truly feels for each other and really connect in ways that humans just can't right now unless they're new types. And then, because time basically stops for a moment. And then it resumes, and she dies, and Char flies away, and he's crying underneath his mask. And Amuro, I don't know if this is I don't remember if this is in the movie version or the show, but he says something to the effect of, he's like, if I live for 1,000 years, I can never make right what I just did. And yeah, so the two of them both loved her, and the two of them both blame each other for her death. And so that comes up here because Amuro is starting to have dreams of Lala, and she even comments like, it would be torture if our consciousnesses just never cease to exist. We just go on forever. But he wants to be with her again, and so does Char. It's the woman they both truly loved. So yeah, they comes towards the finale. The two of them finally have their big battle. Kes gets killed. The woman that killed Kes was a woman that Amuro loves, and Hathaway kills her, but she had part of the psychomu system with her, and it like flares up and energizes, and so conceivably her consciousness is just in space drifting now like Lala's. And at the end, Amuro defeats Char, and Char tries to escape in his escape pod, but Amuro grabs the pod and rams it into the Axis asteroid, and then tries to use the thrusters from the Gundam to divert the asteroid, because they broke the asteroid apart, but half of it's still going to hit Earth. And he's trying to divert it from its course, and Char's like, oh, you fool, you can't, we're already on a collision course, the Gundam's not. It's like, Amuro's like, you don't know how strong the Gundam is, you fool, like, I'll make this work. And then all the Federation mobile suits start jumping in the path of it and start using their thrusters, and then even the Zeon mobile suits begin joining them. And the Federation guys are like, what are you guys doing? They're like, look, none of us want to destroy the Earth. Like, this is foolhardy. Like, we're with you. We're gonna try to save the Earth. And then the asteroid gets into the atmosphere, and the friction. Some of the mobile suits start blowing up because they're burning up. And then finally, Amuro and Char like have it out for good and all verbally. And as they're doing it, the psychomu systems in what's left of Char's mobile suit and Amuro's mobile suit begin flaring up, and their combined psychic powers begin really energizing everything, like an energy field engulfs the asteroid and shoves all the other mobile suits out of the way. And literally the two of them die just cursing each other's name. They're just eternal hatred for each other, and how much they both blame each other for Lala's death. But that powers their suits and creates an energy field which draws the Axis asteroid away from the Earth and sends it out into the void. And then there's just this green energy field encircling the Earth as the credits start going, and you see these lights bouncing through it, chasing each other. Presumably Char, Amuro, and Lala for eternity as just psychic presences. So yeah, that's usually what happens to the heroes in the Gundam universe. You save the universe, but you died in the process. Sorry. Or the guy from the 8th MS team lost a leg, I think an arm. His girlfriend got severe burns. That was after they were forced to kill her brother. The guy in Stardust Memory gets sent to prison, but then the government can't acknowledge the events that happened, so they have to let him out. The guy in Zeta Gundam got turned into a vegetable, because in the end he's fighting Paptimus Shirako, who's a powerful new type, and he gets mortally wounded, and as he's dying, he just channels all his hatred and rage at the good guy and just turns him into a drooling idiot. And then the kid that survives in the War in the Pocket, his new best friend gets killed piloting a Zaku, and he literally comes up as they're opening up the cockpit because it had taken a beam saber from the Gundam. And you literally hear a guy say, not much left in here but a pile of hamburger. And Bernie, the little kid, sees it, so he's traumatized for life. And I think Bernie was the kid. He might have been the guy. It's been a while since I've seen it. But there was a whole deal with the Zeon fleet was coming and was going to nuke the colony. And so the Zeon soldier gave him a disc to give to the representative to tell him what's happening so they know to plan ahead. Because he's been sent to destroy this new Gundam suit that they're developing for Amuro that has new type technology built into it. And the kid has a real pretty girl who lives next door to him named Chris, a redhead. And it's obvious that the guy's pretty into her. And so the final thing on the disc is, by the way, if this goes south, tell Chris I loved her. This is after you see that Chris was the pilot of the Gundam, is the one who killed him. And their fight was completely meaningless because they had already stopped the Zeon fleet. So he died for nothing, killed by a woman that he loved, and some little 8-year-old kid is the one that was left to mentally pick up the pieces after all this. There's no good way out for heroes in the Gundam universe. The Zeons, they mainly just die. But yeah, it's not a good universe to be a hero. Amuro's life got destroyed. Having forced to kill all kinds of people, then forced into surveilled retirement because the government didn't trust him because he's too good of a soldier and they knew he wasn't a big fan of the Titans. Then they bring him back to fight the Neo Zeons. No one will listen to him. And then he dies fighting Char at the very end, saves the Earth, and then is stuck as a spirit forever orbiting the Earth with his rival and their lost love that they both blame each other for her death. And maybe the woman that he loves now. It's kind of messed up, Show about giant robots, gets pretty deep on some things. But yeah, it's a really good movie. You definitely need to see most of that other stuff for it to make sense. Or at the very least, the original series and Zeta Gundam. Probably double Zeta Gundam, but I figured out everything that was going on, so I don't know if double Zeta Gundam is 100% necessary. That's the only one I haven't seen, because years and years ago when I bought all the DVDs and everything, double Zeta Gundam had never even been released in the United States. It has now, and it's on Blu-ray. I need to get it before it goes out of print and costs $1,000 or something, because that's what Gundam shows do. Once they go out of print, it's not just Gundam, other anime shows do, because for some reason Japan has this cash cow and is we'll make 5 copies, that's enough for the Americans. Then they sell it these things go for 8 times what we charge for them. Should we make more? Nah. The Americans have plenty. They'll just pirate it or something. Who knows? That's what they've been doing since the 80s. They probably have it on VHS tape somewhere. We'll fax them. The Japanese love their fax machines, for those of you that don't know. But yeah. So anyway, that's all I've got to say about this. It's very long-winded, but you needed the history lesson. And there'll probably be some more videos about Gundam stuff, because we got the new board game or collectible miniature game or whatever the hell it is coming up. There was the series on Netflix, and I don't think I recorded a video on that. I should. It was a really good series, by the way. If you want to see things from the Zeon perspective and how they view the Gundam as a monster and things like that, is pretty cool. And yeah, I'll probably do some more talking about the others more in depth I need to hook my Blu-ray player back up so I can watch them because they're not online anywhere except maybe Crunchyroll. However, like I said, Char's Counterattack and the 3 movies that make up, like, if you want to see the Gundam series in movie format, the original series, were on Netflix last time I checked. There's also a movie about Bright Noah's son Hathaway that takes place after Char's Counterattack. I still need to watch that. So, and then of course there's the multitude of other Gundam series like Gundam Wing and Gundam X and Turna Gundam and G Gundam, which is just absurd. And there's several others at this point. But Gundam Wing isn't bad. It came on in the early 2000s on Cartoon Network, and everyone's like, "Oh man, this is awesome." Then you see the original series, like, "Oh, so like half the ideas were just straight up stolen from this one." Got it. But that one's more of what they call a shonen anime, if I'm not mistaken. It's got like 5 main protagonists instead of like the military. It's just like 5, and the Gundams are like super mobile suits, you know. So yeah, it's not bad. It's good for what it is. And then the movie Endless Waltz is good. So, but yeah, so that's all I've got to say on this. It was really awesome. Like I said, really awesome seeing it in theaters. It'd be really nice to see some other stuff in theaters like that. If they were to release the 3 movies, that'd be great. They could run just the entire series of several of these, like Stardust Memory and the 8th MS Team are like 12, 13 episodes each at a half hour. That's like 6 hours. You could do that in a theater. And War in the Pocket's only 6 episodes, so that's 3 hours. That's just a movie. Plus, it was made for TV, so they're not really 30 minutes long. The longer series would be difficult. That's 50 some odd episodes. That would be close to like, you'd have to break that apart. Same thing with Zeta and Double Zeta Gundam. You could, because I know theaters ran like all of the movies leading up to Infinity War and Endgame. So, because I remember reading online, people trying to decide which movies to sleep through. Thor 2 was the winner on that, by the way. Then, I know I've seen 6 movies in one day in a theater, because a friend of mine I used to work with, this was just before Avengers came out. Avengers was going to be the midnight show, like the premiere. But we watched Iron Man, Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, Thor, and Captain America. And then at midnight, The Avengers. So yeah, like it's doable. You got to plan ahead. Definitely that's where you're like, okay, I'm going to be buying food at the theater today. So like whenever we bought like 2 slices of pepperoni pizza, that between the 2 slices, now they were hefty slices, you know, good size. There were 3 pepperonis between the 2 pieces. Pepperonis aren't expensive, people. Like, they could have splurged and put a few more on there. I used to run a pizza place. Like, they're not expensive. You can splurge a little at pepperonis. But yeah, the good news is you've only got to buy 1 drink and 1 popcorn. You just keep getting refills. That's what I did. I got so many refills I had to get a new cup because the bottom was about to fall out of the cup. So yeah, as you know, it's wax paper kind of cups. But yeah, then we did the same thing for the Dark Knight trilogy. So we saw the first 2, and then the third one was the Midnight movie, The Dark Knight Rises. And now those were all in IMAX, though. That was really spectacular, because if you don't know, the second movie, The Dark Knight, some of the Hong Kong, there's extra scenes in the Hong Kong, and then some of them are shot for IMAX to see the whole city and everything. It looks really impressive. I had already seen that in IMAX one time because of that, but yeah, it's really good. So anyway, I think those would definitely be doable, you know. Or even just Endless Waltz from Gundam Wing would be pretty cool. So yeah, that's all I've got to say. Let me know down in the comments. Are you fans of the Gundam series? Are you going to check them out after this? Should I do some more videos about them? Probably going to, but just kind of curious. Have you seen Gundam shows? What other anime series do you folks like? Yeah, what would you like to see actually in a theater? Anything at all like that, let me know down in the comments. Other than that, like, share, subscribe. Sharing and commenting are the things that help us really grow the channel. I always appreciate it. We definitely appreciate any and all subscribers. But yeah, so look for some anime content in the future, because I know Chad and I are both anime fans. A lot of what I like is older anime, so that's going to be a thing. Like super technically, the GI Joe cartoon and the Transformers cartoon should qualify as anime, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe they were both made in Japan. They just don't have the hallmark large eyes like Japanese anime typically has. But I do believe they were both actually made in Japan. I could be mistaken on that, but I'm relatively certain. But yeah, so or if you want to see like some Saturday morning kids cartoons that are actually anime, there is Voltron. Voltron was actually what they call a Franken anime or Franken show. It's two different shows, combined scenes to make one cohesive once you add in the dialogue. So yeah. Also, same kind of thing happened with the Power Rangers. All the scenes with the characters were filmed, I think, in Canada, with American actors and everything, and Canadian and whatever. But then all the scenes of them in costume fighting for the first several seasons were just taken from a Korean show, and then they just dubbed over the voices. Now, eventually, there's more footage that the Americans and Canadians or whoever like filmed, and later series definitely begin to be more homegrown. But the original series, that's definitely the case. But anyway, I'm back into rambling territory and I'm trying to cut out here. So yeah, that's all I've got to say. Really awesome movie. If you ever have the opportunity to check it out in the theater, you should. But yeah, other than that, I got nothing else. So I guess the only appropriate send-off here is sayonara.